The rain poured heavily that night, drenching the lonely streets of the small town. Elena stood beneath a flickering streetlight, her long hair plastered against her pale face as tears blended with the cold raindrops. In her trembling hand, she clutched a faded photograph, a picture of a smiling boy with messy hair, a boy she had once thought she would spend forever with. Life hadn't been kind to Elena. At just 24, she had seen more heartbreak than many would in a lifetime. Her childhood was filled with moments of warmth and love, memories of her mother's soft lullabies and her father's hearty laughter. But those memories felt like they belonged to another life, a life that had ended long ago when tragedy struck, shattering her world. It began with her mother's illness. Elena was only 12 when she first noticed her mother's fatigue. What she thought was exhaustion from long days at work soon turned into weeks of hospital visits and whispered conversations in hallways. Her father tried to shield her from the truth, but she was old enough to understand. Cancer was eating away at the woman who had once been her safe haven. For months, Elena spent her evenings curled up by her mother's hospital bed, reading to her from her favorite novels, pretending that everything was fine. But the day came when no amount of pretending could hide the reality. Her mother passed away on a cold winter morning, her frail hand slipping from Elena's grasp as the heart monitor flatlined. That moment etched itself into Elena's soul like a scar that would never fade. Her father, devastated and broken, tried to hold their small family together, but grief consumed him. He began drinking, searching for solace at the bottom of a bottle, leaving Elena to fend for herself. The warmth of her home vanished, replaced with cold silence and bitter arguments. By the time Elena turned 16, she felt like a ghost in her own life. Then she met Daniel. Daniel was everything she had ever dreamed of, kind, charming, with a smile that could light up the darkest corners of her heart. He saw her pain, the emptiness in her eyes, and promised to protect her from the world. For the first time since her mother's death, Elena felt alive again. They spent hours talking about their dreams, their hopes for the future. Daniel wanted to travel the world, to see sunsets from mountaintops and taste foods from every corner of the earth. Elena wanted something simpler. A home filled with love, laughter, and warmth, the kind she had lost long ago. For 2 years, they were inseparable. Daniel became her anchor, her reason to smile. But life had a cruel way of testing happiness. Daniel was diagnosed with a rare heart condition at 19. The doctors said surgery might save him, but there were no guarantees. Elena refused to leave his side, holding his hand through every hospital stay, every sleepless night filled with fear. "I'm not afraid of dying," Daniel whispered one evening as they watched the sunset from his hospital window. "I'm afraid of leaving you alone." "Don't say that," Elena pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "We're going to get through this together. You promised me forever." He smiled softly, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Forever doesn't always mean a lifetime, Elena. Sometimes it means loving someone with everything you have, no matter how short the time." Those words haunted her the night he passed away. She had been sitting beside his bed, holding his hand, when his breathing grew shallow, and his heart finally gave out. She screamed for the nurses, begged for them to save him, but deep down, she knew he was gone. Daniel's death shattered her completely. The days that followed were a blur of grief and numbness. She walked through life, like a shadow, her soul hollow, her dreams buried with him. Nights were the worst, lying awake, clutching his photograph, replaying his laughter in her mind, wishing she could turn back time. But as weeks turned into months, Elena realized something. Daniel had given her more than love. He had given her strength. He had seen her brokenness and still chosen to love her with everything he had. And now, even in his absence, he was guiding her. Determined to honor his memory, Elena began to rebuild her life piece by piece. She went back to school, pouring herself into her studies, finding purpose in helping others. She volunteered at a local hospital, comforting families who sat beside their loved ones' beds, just as she once had. Slowly, she began to feel something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Years passed, and Elena grew into a woman who carried her scars with quiet strength. She still visited Daniel's grave every week, bringing fresh flowers and telling him about her life. She knew he would be proud of her. One rainy evening, as she stood at his gravesite, she whispered, "I'm okay now, Daniel. You kept your promise. You protected me, even after you were gone." The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment, she swore she felt his presence, warm and comforting. She smiled through her tears, knowing that love like theirs never truly dies.